He was an ambitious young man who'd found his perfect match.
Hey. They both wanted to do big things in life.
They were very serious and devoted.
My brother loved her. That was his girl.
But their love story will have a tragic end.
There were multiple people calling because there was an active shooter.
People were running scared.
He's laying on the floor, bleeding out.
It was just unbelievable that he was shot.
Hey, buddy, can you hear me?
It was just something that you couldn't grasp.
Just came in and walked over to this other guy and shot him.
Was he just another statistic?
Active shooters occur throughout the country.
It's the mindset of people.
People have become numb and desensitized to what violence is.
Or will the truth be even tougher to believe?
Look, truth is,
It's cold, it's calculated, it's intentional.
In essence, she hired an assassin.
He walked to my son and he just shot him.
And basically walked away. Like, that's it.
Come out with your hands up.
September 4th, 2017. It's Labor Day in Prince George County, Virginia, a quiet rural community just south of Richmond.
It's about family. It's about enjoying the weather and just getting together and enjoying having that day off with family and friends.
Although that afternoon, the truck stop off Highway 460 is bustling with activity.
This is where folks stop in and get gas and get something to eat real quick because people use this as a back road to go to Virginia Beach.
But for the patrons at this roadside stop, their relaxing holiday is about to take a horrific turn.
At approximately 4 p.m., Prince George County 911 received a flurry of frightened calls.
They were flooding the 911 line.
And they were all reporting the same thing.
There was an active shooter call at the Pilot gas station.
Within minutes, multiple units converge on the scene and are directed to the fast food restaurant connected to the gas station.
when the police arrive, you're worried about where the shooter might be located or if the scene is still active.
But the shooter has fled, leaving chaos in their wake.
They see people behind the counter terrified just based on what just taking place.
They had all witnessed the shooting of a young man.
He's laying on the floor. He's bleeding out.
He had been shot multiple times.
According to the student ID that was found in his wallet, his name was Coron Bond.
"20-year-old Coron Bond grew up in the tough streets of Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond is one of those places to where it's always fighting for the top spot as the murder capital.
So many murders, so many drugs, so much crime. It's not so good.
It was the hood, for the most part. Craziness happened, but still a lot of good people around.
Coron's family was among the best.
Coron came from a close-knit family.
Coron is a mama's boy. He just loved his mom and his dad. And he had a special relationship with each one of his siblings.
Everybody just loved him. He was the baby boy, so you know how that goes.
He was the youngest of 5. And spoiled rotten, I couldn't imagine a tighter group.
Raised under the watchful eye of older siblings, Coron stayed out of trouble.
When you grow up poor and you see everybody else getting money, but they getting it the wrong way, and you see where they ending up. We wouldn't allow our little brothers to do that. Like, me and my sister stayed on them. We stayed on our brothers, make sure they get best grades, not get in trouble in school.
Hey, y'all boys crazy, man.
Not that it was hard to keep Coron on track.
Coron was absolutely a go-getter.
Coron was focused on the books.
He knew that having an education was going to be something that was going to aid him in whatever way he wanted to go.
Graduated in top of his class.
After high school, Coron moved on to Virginia State University.
Virginia State University, it is one of the United States' first accredited HBCUs.
He really wanted to go to an HBCU and represent as a young black man. He wanted to have that degree.
I was proud of my brother. I was happy for him to start college.
Coron continued to excel at Virginia State.
He was just adamant about making sure that he put his best work forward.
And though only a sophomore, he already had a vision for his future.
His major was business.
He always had an entrepreneur dream. He wasn't gonna be somebody who worked for someone else very long.
His catchphrases was, "I just want to be great," and he meant that.
Not that Coron was all work and no play.
He was the life of the party.
He could put a smile on anybody. He can make anybody laugh. Easygoing and fun lover is how I describe him.
And when it came to women, Coron was a hit.
Oh, what's up?
As far as the ladies, Lord, we don't want to talk about that because we'll be here till next year.
He was a natural dancer. If it was any kind of trending dance, he was on it.
He's the cutest thing. He had this big old smile. He was always dressed really nice, and he was smart. He was pretty much everything that any young girl at that age would have wanted, and it showed.
He had a lot of prospects.
But after Coron met a fellow student named Kia March, he became a one-woman man.
Nice. You're in my econ class, right?
Yeah, I'm a business major.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
They both wanted to do big things in life.
My brother loved her. I know he loved her a whole lot.
They were very serious and devoted. He definitely seemed happy.
But now, someone has shot Coron multiple times in the midst of a crowded restaurant.
It's Labor Day, it's a small community, and there's a shooting that happens in the midst of what should be a celebratory holiday.
After the police arrived, secured the scene, and made sure that the shooter wasn't there.
Hey, buddy, can you hear me?
The next step was to get him to the hospital as quickly as possible.
While EMTs raced to save Coron, the police try to piece together what happened.
There were plenty of people at the truck stop who witnessed the shooting.
The restaurant side was busy, the gas station side was busy, a lot of people in and out.
He had on a black hoodie.
Several of them told police the same story.
All he did was walk up and pull a gun and say,
I heard you got a problem with my sister.
"20-year-old Coron Bond, a sophomore at Virginia State University, had met his match in an ambitious co-ed named Kia March."
They were college sweethearts.
These two had a bright future together.
But now, Coron is being rushed to the nearest trauma center after being gunned down in broad daylight.
The shooting occurred in the middle of a busy truck stop on Labor Day afternoon.
To pull up with a gun in a restaurant full of people on the holidays and shoot somebody, it was crazy.
It was unreal because nothing happens in Prince George County.
When detectives arrive and begin talking to the customers who witnessed the shooting, the scenario they describe sounds like a hit.
Coron was sitting at a table. He was sitting alone on his phone, and his back was towards the counter.
This guy just like came in the door on the far side of the restaurant, and I really couldn't even see his face.
The description of the shooter was that he came in with a hoodie that was closely tied around his face.
Witnesses say they were immediately suspicious as the shooter walked into the restaurant.
Who wears a hoodie tied like that?
It seems to me that he was trying his best not to be identified.
According to the witnesses, he went straight for Coron, pulling the gun as he approached.
He just came in and walked over to this other guy and shot him.
After Coron is shot,
And walked over to this other guy and shot him.
after Coron is shot, he gets up and he tries to flee the scene.
But he didn't get far.
The gunman fires another shot and shoots Coron in the back.
Hit a second time, Coron fell to the floor.
Then the person in the black hoodie fled the scene.
He actually fled through the front door where he got into a vehicle and he immediately sped away.
Witnesses are saying, well, he went right up to this guy. You could tell that is a premeditated, it's cold, it's calculated, it's intentional.
Did you hear anything? Did he say anything?
Yeah, he was saying something sort of, I heard you had a problem with my sister.
Heard you got a problem with my sister.
That's a very vital piece of information.
To detectives, it sounds like the shooting stemmed from some sort of personal dispute.
We're gonna go check this out.
At that point, detectives, of course, wanted to figure out who was the sister in question.
Questioning employees of the restaurant raises one possibility.
Apparently the victim's girlfriend works here.
The authorities find out that Coron's girlfriend was actually an employee.
So it wasn't uncommon for him to drop her off at work. It wasn't uncommon for him to hang around a little bit before she started her shift.
Was she working today?
Yeah.
What's her name?
Kia. Kia March.
Kia March.
Could Kia be the sister that the gunman mentioned?
Do you know if they've had any issues up to today?
I don't think so.
He was there actually just dropping her off for her to start her shift.
Where can I find Kia?
I think she's in the back. She's really shook up.
However, before the detectives can talk to Kia, there's a commotion outside the restaurant.
Ma'am, please! That's my baby in there.
My daughter had just called me, Mom, Coron been shot. By the time I got there, they would not let me get in.
Drawn by the noise, the detectives pull Coron's mother aside and inform her that Coron has been rushed to the hospital.
Coron was med-flighted to VCU Medical Center, which is in Richmond.
However, that's not the only news that the detectives have for Coron's mother.
Coron didn't make it to the hospital.
He is pronounced dead before he even arrives.
Ma'am, I'm so sorry.
It was an unbelievable moment for me. I was in disbelief.
And she has no idea why anyone would want to hurt her son.
He was such a good student. He was well-liked, never got into trouble.
He was a good boy.
I understand.
He never did anything to anybody. He was not that type of kid to be involved in any nonsense, never had a history of anything. This kid wouldn't jaywalk. I couldn't understand.
I just couldn't believe that it could have happened to him.
And the one lead the detectives have appears to be a dead end.
Listen, the shooter said Coron had a problem with his sister. Any idea what this is about?
No.
Ma'am, his girlfriend, Kia, do you know she has a brother?
I don't think so.
Was this a case of mistaken identity?
Sure they're missing something, detectives turn to Kia, who was holed up in the restaurant manager's office.
Kia was an absolute wreck.
She is traumatized. She is in a state of shock.
All right. We're gonna have this officer escort you down to the office, and we'll speak with you there once we're done here, okay?
She was unable to give a statement to the police officers because she was so distraught.
It has to be traumatizing to witness someone die like that.
However, a fellow employee who has been trying to comfort Kia does have some information for the detectives.
A couple of our co-workers left right after the shooting. They were Lashana Jacobs and Norma Glover.
At this point, nobody knows if they're fleeing because they're scared or if they were a part of the incident.
Detectives investigating the murder of Coron Bond inside a rural Virginia fast food restaurant have learned that 2 restaurant employees fled the scene of the shooting.
They need to find out what they know and what they saw.
The 2 employees that fled the scene may have the missing pieces to actually what happened to Coron.
Given what just occurred, the fact that they ran from the restaurant isn't all that surprising.
In the chaos, you have many people that fled.
But was it fear of the shooter that caused them to flee? Or was it something else?
This particular witness seen an argument between Coron's girlfriend, Kia, and one of the 2 employees that fled the scene about 45 minutes before the shooting occurred.
That employee was Norma Glover.
Was that just a coincidence? Or was there a connection?
You were just arguing and now you're fleeing the scene after the shooting. It seems kind of sketchy.
At the crime scene, detectives have police issue a statement to the media asking for Norma and the co-worker she fled with, Lashana Jacobs, to come forward.
They say we need to question Norma and Lashana in regards to information for the shooting death of Coron.
Then the detectives head down to the station to get a formal statement from Coron's girlfriend, Kia.
She had been in the restaurant and witnessed her boyfriend's murder.
Kia was so traumatized that at that moment couldn't talk to her.
Kia is now calm enough to give her statement.
Although when detectives bring up her co-worker, Norma Glover, Kia becomes emotional.
It was all my fault.
Nope, don't blame yourself.
You don't understand.
She explains that the argument with Norma actually started about a week ago.
Kia was the shift manager. She was responsible for the employees and the productivity of that shift.
It was the lunch rush. We were already short-handed.
They were having manpower issues.
She relayed to Norma and to everybody else, hey, I need everybody on that game.
But Norma wasn't a team player.
Norma just walked away, clocked out, and left.
That left Kia without a worker.
Everybody plays a key role, and if somebody drops out, that leaves you in a bind.
Orders backed up, lines got long, and customers complained.
The manager comes down on the shift leader, who is Kia, saying, you got to keep a better eye on your people because we can't have this happening.
Kia explained, I didn't let anybody do anything. She left on her own.
As a result, the manager had words with Norma.
She's reprimanded for her actions.
The manager said, hey, if this happened again, I'm gonna have to let you go.
Kia says that the manager's warning had only enraged Norma.
She also said that Norma had started harassing her.
She'd get up in my face and call me names.
She was in fear of losing her job, but she also labeled Kia as a snitch.
What did you say? You heard me.
It can certainly get volatile in the workplace, and it can get ugly pretty fast.
Kia says her feud with Norma wasn't just ugly, it was scary.
Norma was saying to her that she was gonna have someone hurt her.
Which was why Kia had turned to Coron.
You think she'll really do something to hurt you?
I don't know. She's crazy.
Coron, being a supportive, nurturing boyfriend, decides that he wants to assist his girlfriend.
It's fine. I'll stay a little bit longer.
You do that?
I got you.
Out of love, he shows up to work with her to offer her that protection.
Kia says that just as she feared, things had gotten heated as soon as Norma showed up for her shift.
She started arguing immediately.
So you better tell the boss that I was on time today.
Hey, I was just doing my job.
Kia and Norma are going back and forth.
It was loud, it was confrontational.
What did you say?
They're screaming at each other.
But according to Kia, Norma had backed off once she spotted Coron in the dining area.
And what's he doing here?
Nothing. He's just waiting on a friend.
He was really there to back up Kia to make sure nothing happened.
Kia says that after the altercation with Norma, she'd gone out to the dining area and spoken to Coron.
She'd asked him to stick around a little longer.
Kia seemed to be scared that something was going to happen.
Coron, being Coron, let Kia know he had her back.
Coron was there just kind of to be there for her.
He wanted to protect Kia and make sure that she was okay.
But as it turned out, it was Coron who needed protecting.
Barely 45 minutes later, the gunman walked through the door.
Heard you got a problem with my sister.
Kia is certain that this has everything to do with the feud that she's had with Norma.
And after a little digging, the detectives think so too.
Norma did have a half-brother.
His name is Julius Moultrie III.
Detectives believe 27-year-old Julius Moultrie may be the mysterious gunman who walked into a rural Virginia truck stop and gunned down Coron Bond.
Julius's half-sister Norma had an issue with Coron's girlfriend, Kia March.
Someone heard the gunman say, "I heard you have a problem with my sister."
That isn't the only thing that points to Julius.
He had a rap sheet 9 or 10 pages long.
But it's one charge in particular that catches the detective's eye.
He had been convicted of actually killing Norma's father, his stepfather.
He did like 3 years on a 15-year sentence.
Moultrie had only been released from jail 9 months prior.
And now the detectives suspect he'd killed again.
Julius killed his stepdad, Norma's father, his half-sister's father. If you're willing to kill somebody that close to you, you definitely can potentially do this to somebody else with no ties.
At that point, there was a manhunt. Locate him and bring him in.
Within a few hours, police traced Julius to his girlfriend's house.
They knew he was in the area just because what tower his cell phone was bouncing off of.
Officers moved quickly and quietly to surround the house.
The police weren't taking any chances.
Julius Moultrie, come out! Come out of the house! Come on out, keep your hands up!
He surrenders to the Prince George County Police Department.
He was cooperative, and he had no problem going in for questioning.
Once he sits down with detectives, Julius denies any role in Coron's murder.
We know you shot Coron Bond.
Wasn't there. Couldn't have been.
He said that he had been at his girlfriend's house all day.
Your girlfriend's, huh? We'll see about that.
When detectives checked with his girlfriend, who they had also brought in for questioning, her story is a bit different.
She actually says that Julius didn't show up to her home until later on that day.
Confronted with the inconsistencies in their stories, Julius changes his.
He then says, "Oh, wait a minute. I was actually at my friend's house in Petersburg."
Did you go anywhere else?
No, sir.
The detectives are all but certain he's lying.
Detectives at this time, they decided to do a gunshot residue test.
It comes back positive. He actually held a gun and he fired it on that day.
The test results are enough for the detectives to place Julius under arrest.
Julius was charged with first-degree murder.
The suspected shooter's arrest is welcome news for Coron's friends and family. But they're shocked to learn he'd recently been released from prison for manslaughter.
He killed someone intentionally and only get 3 years for it.
When we found out, it was a slap in the face. That was extremely frustrated and upset.
But detectives believe the blame for Coron's death doesn't rest solely with Julius.
Basically, Norma and Kia got into it, and she started popping off about how her family and how they was gonna mess her up.
Kia was saying, hey, listen, I'm gonna get my boyfriend involved. He's gonna deal with you.
What detectives wanted to know is if Norma actually instructed her brother to kill him, or if he acted on his own volition.
Since Norma and LaShawna have yet to come forward voluntarily, detectives once again turn to the media.
They are asking anyone who has information on the whereabouts of Norma and LaShawna to give that information to the Prince George's County Police Department.
The request produces several tips regarding Norma and her friend LaShawna's location.
Both of the women taken into custody.
When questioned by detectives, Norma initially denied knowing anything about Coron's murder.
Then why'd you run, Norma?
Because they were shooting up the place.
No.
Glover says they were afraid of getting shot themselves.
Of course, the detectives know different.
Stop lying, okay?
We already arrested Julius.
She figured out that she was caught.
She admits that her brother was actually the killer.
But according to Norma, the detectives have it all wrong.
Norma said, I didn't tell my brother to come in and kill Coron. I didn't tell my brother to come in and shoot anybody.
Truth is, I tried to stop him.
Meet the traveling trio. The thrill seeker, the soul searcher, and ahoy, it's the explorer, each helping to protect their money with Chase. Whoa.
I tried to stop him.
She flipped on him and snitched on him.
Which is kind of ironic, considering how angry she had been about Kia supposedly snitching on her.
However, Norma denies asking Julius to kill Coron.
Norma insists that she was not the one who called Julius to the scene. She says that she was actually on the phone with her mother.
Look, I was upset, and I was just telling my mama about what had happened. Julius must have overheard.
Oh, okay. So he just took it upon himself to come up there and shoot Coron, right?
Look, I know how it sounds, but y'all don't know Julius.
She described Julius as crazy.
She explains that he just recently, not too long ago, got out of prison.
When he gets upset, there's no telling what he'll do.
Norma says that as soon as she saw Julius pull up outside the restaurant, she knew there would be trouble.
She did visibly see that he was angry.
She said, I tried to stop him. I tried to stop my brother.
Norma tells detectives that she tried to calm him down, but he brushed right past her.
Norma says she was still outside when she heard the shots.
All right, Norma, just tell us what happened, okay?
LaShawna came running out, and we ran to my car. And next thing I know, he was there.
He who?
Julius.
Norma says Julius forced her and LaShawn in the car and demanded that they leave the scene.
Right. Norma tells authorities that her brother made her and LaShawna drive him to a nearby relative's home.
Just because Norma was cooperating, that didn't mean that she was as innocent as she claimed.
When police question her coworker, LaShawna Jacobs, she also claims to be an innocent bystander.
Look, I wasn't even supposed to be there. I already clocked out.
Her story is that she stuck around simply because Norma was her ride home.
LaShawna, when the incident was occurring, was on the phone with her boyfriend, who is detained at Riverside Regional Jail.
I'm gonna call you back, okay?
She got off the phone with him to actually calm down the feud between Norma and Kia.
Oh, Norma, let it go.
No, look, she over there running to her boyfriend like I'm scared of him or something.
Norma was spewing out all of these obscenities and all of these threats.
LaShawna was trying everything that she could to calm Norma down. LaShawna said that she even called Norma's mother in hopes that her mother could calm her down.
You called her mom?
Yeah, because she was talking crazy. Come on.
LaShawna was still trying to calm Norma down, but she didn't make any progress.
Norma was actually telling her mother that she was going to get someone to pistol whip Kia.
LaShawna didn't know if that someone was supposed to be Julius.
However, LaShawna says she did see Norma in the parking lot talking to her brother moments before the murder.
She witnessed Norma and Julius having a conversation, and Norma pointing to Coron saying, that's him right there.
She wasn't trying to stop him.
After this, Julius actually walks into the restaurant and he shoots Coron.
LaShawna says that in the chaos afterwards, she'd found Norma in the parking lot.
She said they were getting in the car when Julius came running up.
He hopped in and they took off.
LaShawna says she was afraid for her life.
Is LaShawna telling the truth? There may be a way for detectives to confirm at least some of her story.
LaShawna was on the phone with her boyfriend, who was incarcerated when the fight was going on.
Jail, the phone calls are recorded.
And when the detectives pull the tape of the call, their contents back up LaShawna's account.
Police were able to hear in the background Norma yelling and screaming.
I know people, okay? I know killers.
Based on the testimony of LaShawna Jacobs, detectives have been able to confirm via a recorded jail line that Norma Glover was threatening to call a shooter to the restaurant the day Coron Bond was killed.
I know killers.
With that new information, she is charged with first-degree murder.
I just thank God they were arrested so fast. They were arrested before I even made arrangements with the funeral home.
I'm glad that she was arrested because I couldn't understand why, in between an argument with two women, that you would have someone come in with that intent.
I can't say I was relieved that the officers did their due diligence.
When Julius goes on trial in July of 2018, the courtroom is packed.
Julius is the first to go to trial.
However, there is no jury.
Julius opted at this point to have a bench trial.
In a bench trial, it's the judge who determines the verdict.
With all of the evidence that police had, it didn't seem as though Julius had a chance.
Not that the prospect of a short trial and a quick verdict made facing Coron's killer any easier on the family.
He grinned in my face, he stared us down, he was very disrespectful, he was just terrible.
It was aggravating. I wanted to get my hands on him so bad.
Although according to the prosecutors, it was Julius who'd come down to the restaurant looking for blood on the afternoon of the murder.
He'd heard about the fight between Norma and Kia, and that Kia's boyfriend was there.
Julius got the information, worked himself into a rage, just, over the top.
Everybody has, crazy cousins and crazy family members that you know about.
Julius had a violent past. He had recently gotten out of prison for killing his own stepfather.
He already had that tendency to become violent.
But it was his sister who provided the target for his rage.
She pointed to my brother and said, "That's him right there."
He knew exactly who to walk up to, ask the question.
Heard you got a problem with my sister.
And he just shot him.
Brother was trying to turn and run, and he got shot again.
He was not a fighter. He was not a thug. He was not a gangster. He was a college student.
I could imagine that he was terrified.
My brother just died on the floor.
The prosecutors present plenty of evidence that Julius was Coron's killer.
They had the gunshot residue test that came back positive.
Norma implicated Julius as the person who in fact did this heinous act.
For the judge, it all adds up to a murder conviction.
He found Julius guilty of murder.
The judge sentences Julius to life in prison. And in the state of Virginia, there is no parole for murder convictions.
He'll be spending the rest of his life behind bars.
It's not enough for Coron's family.
He's in prison, but he's still alive. He's still getting 3 hearts in the cot. He probably moving through, functioning. I mean, he was there not too long prior, so I'm pretty sure he was accustomed to being in prison already.
The family was still upset that Julius was out on parole for manslaughter when the murder occurred.
He should have never been released from the first murder he committed.
If he was still in there, my brother would be alive.
When Norma, who also opts for a bench trial, goes before the judge, the prosecutors know that the case against her isn't as cut and dry.
After all, it was Julius that pulled the trigger.
But the prosecution argues the murder never would have happened if Norma hadn't pointed Coron out to her brother.
She knew who her brother was, and she knew how he was. She knew what the heck was gonna happen.
Just because you don't pull the trigger doesn't mean you didn't have anything to do with it.
If Norma wouldn't have pointed out Coron Bond would be here today.
She should be held just as accountable as her brother was for the whole situation. Even though he was a trigger man, she pretty much hired an assassin or a hitman to come kill my brother, because in essence, that's exactly what she did.
Still, the defense insists Norma can't be blamed for the killing.
Norma's defense attorney said that she had no knowledge that her brother was going to commit that murder. She had no knowledge that he was going to come to that restaurant.
She says that she could not control Julius. She says that he was crazy, that he was irate, and that she could not have stopped him even if she wanted to.
Julius was going to act any way that he wanted to regardless.
But when the judge delivers his verdict, he determines that Julius isn't solely responsible for Coron's death.
The judge finds Norma Glover guilty of first-degree murder and sentences her to 48 years in prison.
I wish she had gotten life.
She was the cause of it. None of this would have happened if it weren't for her.
And the friends and family Coron left behind still struggle to understand why it happened at all.
It's extremely frustrating to know that such a sweet kid was murdered in cold blood by someone he didn't know and didn't have any interaction with. It's just mind-boggling.
The reality of today's world is people get so worked up about very minor things. I mean, come on, you're talking about an argument over a shift. Really? We're gonna kill somebody over that?
His life is cut short for nothing.
But he will always be remembered.
If I could talk to him now, I would tell him how much he was missed and how much of an impact he already had. He always told us he just wanted to be great, but that he was already great.
I love my brother and I miss him. Like, I miss him a whole lot. And as long as I'm alive, he will never be forgotten. That's for sure.
আমি ও আমার স্ত্রী এবং 3 ছেলে ইসলাম ধর্ম গ্রহণ করেছি। জানা যায়, বগুড়া নোটারি পাবলিকের কার্যালয়ে গিয়ে এফিডেভিটের মাধ্যমে দিলীপ চন্দ্রের পরিবর্তে দেলোয়ার হোসেন, স্ত্রী ঝর্ণা রানীর পরিবর্তে হাফিজা খাতুন, 3 ছেলে সুমন চন্দ্রের পরিবর্তে সুমন ইসলাম, দুলাল চন্দ্রের পরিবর্তে সোহেল রানা ও মদন কুমারের পরিবর্তে জুয়েল রানা হিন্দু ধর্মের নাম পরিবর্তন করে ইসলামী নাম ঘোষণা করেছি। এ বিষয়ে দিলীপ চন্দ্র বর্তমান নাম দেলোয়ার হোসেন বলেন, আমি সহ পরিবারের সদস্যরা স্বেচ্ছায় সজ্ঞানে হিন্দু ধর্ম পরিবর্তন করে ইসলাম ধর্ম গ্রহণ করেছি। ভিউয়ার্স, যার যার ধর্ম শেষে পালন করবে, তবে সঠিক এবং শান্তির ধর্ম বেছে নিয়ে জীবন অতিবাহিত করার মধ্যে রয়েছে পরকালে অনির্দিষ্টকালের জন্য শান্তি। আল্লাহ পাক যেন এই নবমুসলিম পরিবারকে ইসলামের খেদমতে কবুল করে এবং তারাও যেন এই শান্তির ধর্ম সারা জীবন সঠিকভাবে পালন করতে পারেন। আমিন। আপনিও কমেন্ট বক্সে আমিন লিখে যেতে পারেন। ভিডিওটি ভালো লেগে থাকলে একটি লাইক দিয়ে যত বেশি সম্ভব শেয়ার করে সবাইকে দেখার সুযোগ করে।
অবশেষে ঢাকা মেট্রো রেল চালু হয়েছে। রাজধানীবাসীর স্বপ্ন সত্যি হয়েছে। উন্নত বিশ্বে মেট্রো রেল বেশ পুরনো হলেও আমাদের দেশে এই প্রথম মেট্রোতে চড়ার অভিজ্ঞতা অর্জন করছে লোকজন। জ্যামের শহর ঢাকায় মেট্রো রেল যেন রীতিমতো একটা বিস্ময়। মেট্রো রেল কিভাবে চলে, কিভাবে ঘোরানো হয় ট্রেনের মাথা, কিভাবে বা পুরো সিস্টেমকে নিয়ন্ত্রণ করা হয়, রুমে বসে পুরো ট্রেনকে নিয়ন্ত্রণ করা হলে চালকের কাজটা কি, এই ধরনের অনেক প্রশ্নই ঘুরপাক খাচ্ছে মানুষের মনে। চলুন জেনে নেওয়া যাক কৌতূহলী এসব প্রশ্নের উত্তরগুলো। উন্নত যোগাযোগ ব্যবস্থার যে কয়টি মাধ্যম আছে তার মধ্যে সবচেয়ে জনপ্রিয় মেট্রো রেল। কেননা এত অল্প খরচে সব শ্রেণী পেশার মানুষ খুব দ্রুত এক স্থান থেকে অন্য স্থানে যেতে পারে। মেট্রো রেলের ইতিহাসও বেশ পুরনো। বিশ্বের সর্বপ্রথম মেট্রো রেল চালু করে ব্রিটিশরা। 1863 সালে লন্ডনে যাত্রা শুরু হয়। এরপর ধীরে